In the dead of night, 30,000 feet above us, something moves through the darkness. Silent, invisible, like a phantom made of shadows. The enemy never sees it coming, never hears it approach. The first sign of its presence is the earth trembling beneath their feet. But by then, it's already too late. This is the B-2's spirit. But our story begins long before this titan of the skies took flight. It begins in 1935 with a British mathematician named Arnold Wilkins and an impossible idea. What if you could make an aircraft vanish from radar? For decades, this remained a dream. Through World War II, the Cold War, and Vietnam, aircraft lived and died by their radar signatures. Every plane left a trace, a ghost in the machine that could be tracked, targeted, and destroyed. Then, in the darkest days of the Cold War, in top-secret facilities across America, a group of engineers and scientists began working on something revolutionary. They called it Project Senior CJ. The public would come to know it as the Senior Trend, and later, the F-17 Nighthawk. But that was just the beginning. What they learned would lead to something far more ambitious, an aircraft that would change the face of warfare forever. In 1975, in a highly classified facility in Pico Rivera, California, engineers at Northrop Corporation faced an impossible challenge: how to make a bomber the size of a passenger jet disappear from radar. The answer lay in geometry. Every angle, every curve of the B-2 would need to be precisely calculated to scatter radar waves in harmless directions. But this wasn't just about shape, it was about revolution. Traditional aircraft design was thrown out the window. Wings, tail, every fundamental aspect of aviation had to be reconsidered. The result was the flying wing, a design so radical it had been abandoned decades earlier as too unstable to fly. But the engineers at Northrop had a secret weapon. For the first time in history, they could use digital systems to control an inherently unstable aircraft. Every millisecond of flight would be managed by a complex network of sensors and adjustments. Yet shape alone wasn't enough. Radar waves had to be absorbed, not just deflected. This led to one of the B-2's most closely guarded secrets: its skin. Layers of composite materials, radar-absorbing ferrites, and specialized coatings were combined to create a surface that could swallow radar waves like a black hole swallows light. Each B-2 requires 25,000 hours of maintenance per year just to maintain this delicate skin. That's nearly 3 years of continuous work. The price tag kept climbing. By the time the first B-2 rolled out of Northrop's facility in 1988, it had become the most expensive aircraft program in history. Each plane cost more than its weight in gold, several times over. But what emerged was unlike anything seen before. An aircraft that showed up on radar as something the size of a bird. A bomber that could slip through the most sophisticated air defense systems like a ghost through walls. The impossible had been achieved. But the real test was yet to come. March 24, 1999. As darkness fell over Missouri's Whiteman Air Force Base, crews prepared for a mission that would make history. 2 B-2 Spirits were about to fly into combat for the first time. Their target, Yugoslavia. The mission, Operation Noble Anvil. What followed would change the way wars are fought forever. The mission seemed impossible. A non-stop round trip from Missouri to Yugoslavia. 30 hours in the air, requiring multiple mid-air refuelings. No American bomber had ever struck from its home base at such a distance. Inside the cramped cockpit, 2 pilots would take turns sleeping in a seat barely bigger than a lawn chair, while flying a $2 billion aircraft loaded with 16 2,000-pound smart bombs. When the B-2s reached their targets, the results were devastating. Serbian air defenses, among the most sophisticated in the world, never knew what hit them. In one night, 2 aircraft had accomplished what would have previously required an entire air campaign. But maintaining the Spirit's invisibility came at a cost. Crews would spend hours examining every inch of the aircraft's surface. A single crack in its sensitive skin could make it visible to radar. Rain could degrade its stealth coating. Even the wrong kind of paint could compromise its invisibility. 2 years later, in the skies over Afghanistan, the B-2 would set another record. October 2001, 6 B-2s flew from Missouri to targets halfway around the world. This time, the missions would last 44 hours, the longest air combat sorties in history. To keep these ghosts in the air required an intricate dance of aerial refueling. Each B-2 would connect with tanker aircraft multiple times, taking on fuel while navigating through darkness at hundreds of miles per hour. B-2s could strike up to 80 different targets in a single mission. The job that once required hundreds of aircraft could now be done with just a few. Today, only 20 B-2 Spirits exist. Each one represents the pinnacle of American air power. Each mission they fly costs $169,000 per hour, more than any other aircraft in history. But perhaps the B-2's greatest achievement isn't in the targets it can destroy, but in those it deters. A B-2 Spirit touches down, its dark shape casting a long shadow across the runway. But time is catching up with these ghosts of the sky. By 2032, the B-2 Spirit will retire its wings. Its successor, the B-21 Raider, represents the next chapter in the story of stealth. But the legacy of the Spirit will echo through aviation history forever. When a Spirit needs repairs, parts often have to be manufactured from scratch. There is no shelf stock for a stealth bomber, but the cost bought something priceless: the ability to hold any target on Earth at risk. In every conflict since Kosovo, potential adversaries have had to face a sobering reality. They never know if a B-2 is watching, waiting in the darkness above. Even as air defense systems grow more sophisticated, the B-2 remains elusive. For over 3 decades, the B-2 Spirit has defined American air power. It has flown more than 50,000 hours in service. Its crews have crossed every ocean, flown over every continent, and returned home to tell the tale. Even now, somewhere in the world, a B-2 Spirit might be gliding through the darkness. Its presence unknown, its impact unmistakable, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of the impossible. The B-2 Spirit didn't just change warfare, it changed what we thought was possible. As these ghosts prepare for their final flights, they leave behind more than a legacy of stealth. They leave proof that with enough determination, even the laws of physics can be bent, that the impossible is merely difficult, waiting to be achieved. In the end, the B-2 Spirit represents more than just an aircraft. It stands as a monument to human innovation, a reminder that sometimes the greatest achievements are the ones no one sees coming.